What's up guys, I'm Lily from Siser North America. Thanks for watching Clued Into Crafting. If you're new to heat transfer vinyl, or maybe you have no idea what I just said, this video is for you. So stick around, it'll all become clear soon. Well, I'd love to show you guys some of the really cool stuff and intricate details you can do with HTV. We're gonna start with the basics today since we have a new year and a fresh start and a refresher on HTV. So first of all, what is HTV? Well, HTV or heat transfer vinyl or iron-on vinyl is all the same thing. It either comes on a sheet or a roll, and on the front it has this clear plasticky carrier. And on the back is the duller side. This has the adhesive that is activated by, can you guess? Yeah, heat, of course. So we like to say anything that can take the heat can be decorated with HTV. So even though common items are probably going to be like your fabric t-shirt, a tote bag, a hat, something along those lines, you can also do fun items on cork, cardstock, cardboard, anything like that. If it can take the heat, then you can decorate it. So some heat transfer vinyl is thick, like Brick 600, and some is thin, like Easy Weed. It's important to know which side has the clear carrier because the carrier always goes face down on your cutting mat when you load it in to your craft cutter. So that leads me to our next question. What can I cut HTV with? Well, the most commonly used tools are a desktop cutter, like the Silhouette Cameo 3. There are a lot of other tools like this one, like the Cricut Explore Air, Brother Scan and Cut, Cricut Maker, things along those lines. But those aren't your only options. These are just the small desktop versions. There are also larger cutters like your Rollin and your Titan, things along those lines that are gonna be a little bit bigger. If you don't have one of these machines, don't worry, it's okay. You can still use HTV. You just might have to use your Sizzix Big Kick machine or scissors and an X-Acto knife, scrapbook punches even. You can make some really cool things. So you're not just limited to getting a big machine. You can play around with it first with some low-tech gear. Since there are so many different ways you can cut HTV, we're not gonna go into all of the specifics about dialing in your cut settings and which way do things go. But the important thing to remember, the most important thing when you work with HTV and you design your cut files, make sure that all your text and all your images are flipped horizontally, or also known as mirroring the image. This is gonna make sure that after it's cut and applied, your graphic is facing the correct direction. If that doesn't make sense to you right now, just trust me, it's all gonna turn out okay in the end. So after cutting, you might be looking at your piece of vinyl and thinking, well, now what? Well, now we have to remove all of the excess that isn't a part of your design. This process is called weeding. So now that you have your weeded piece of vinyl, you're probably wondering, well, how do I attach this thing? So you have a couple of options. So remember, it's heat transfer vinyl, so anything that gives off heat is gonna be a good tool to apply it. Home iron is a good option if you're making things for your personal use, for your friends or yourself, your kids maybe. A Cricut Easy Press is a nice middle of the road option. And then you have your big boy heat press. And this is our red press 16 by 20 platen, and it's gonna be your best option for making those professional garments that you're gonna sell for your shop or run a business. I have a lot of blog posts going over how to properly iron on several different types of HTV. So we're not gonna go into every single specific today, but if you are working with a home iron, there are a couple things that you need to make sure you have. The first is going to be a nice solid surface to apply on. You also want to make sure that this table is not going to be harmed by the heat. So if you're concerned about that, you can put something underneath it, like a wooden cutting board that you got just for pressing HTV. That'll work really nicely. If you don't have one of those, a folded up towel can always work in a pinch, but that wooden board is going to be best for getting the nice firm pressure that you need with an iron. Unfortunately, the one thing that you can't do with an iron is adjust your pressure, and that's very important for HTV, and that's why we recommend moving to a heat press if you're going to be running a business, because of this really fancy tool right here. It is your pressure adjustment knob. So you can bring your pressure up if you're working with a really thin t-shirt, or you can bring your pressure down if you're working with a thicker substrate like a big hoodie or a piece of wood or something like that that you need less pressure for. Whichever heat application tool you end up using, we do always recommend using a heat transfer cover sheet with your heat element. This is going to protect any layers of HTV that have already been applied and no longer have a carrier sheet on top. It's also going to protect your garment from getting any kind of gook that might have been stuck to your heat press platen from an earlier pressing when someone may have forgotten a heat transfer cover sheet. But if you remember them, then it will keep your platen clean, it will keep your garment clean, and it will keep you happy. So now that you have your weeded piece of vinyl, you're going to take the sticky side and place it face down on the hoodie or whatever garment that you're working with. So you might notice that I'm applying with a front pocket hoodie. So this has a lot of seams around it and things like that that are gonna get in the way when I lower this platen down. It's gonna prevent me from getting a nice tight seal between the upper platen and the lower platen. So the final tool that we recommend using when you're heat applying are heat transfer pillows. These are just foam with heat transfer cover sheets on the outside. And they help you to raise your application area up above those seams, those pockets, the hood, things like that. So when you close this, you're gonna get a nice tight seal and even pressure across all of the heat transfer vinyl. All right, and we talked about that pressure knob earlier right up here. When you put a pillow in, it's probably going to need you to raise the pressure a little bit so you can still get that seal, and you'll feel it when you pull down and it will lock in place. And we don't want to pull down without a cover sheet. You almost caught me, but I didn't do it. So cover sheet on top, heat transfer pillow in between. Let's give it a go. And you can hear there, it didn't quite lock down. I want it to lock down and get full pressure, so I'm gonna loosen it. And almost there. Remember, I double folded that pillow, so this one's a little thicker than usual. There we go. Did you hear that lock down? That's what we wanted. Now it's gonna go for 15 seconds. It's got an automatic timer on it because Lord knows I'm not good with numbers. Here it goes. And we'll lift it up at the beep. Take your cover sheet off. You can remove that pillow. An Easy Weed is a hot peel, so we don't have to wait. We get the reward right away. Super cute. I hope this video has made you more comfortable with heat transfer vinyl and has made you so excited to work with HTV. But we know you probably might have a few questions still, and that's okay. Just leave them in the comment section below and we'll be happy to get back to you. Otherwise, you can check out the Siser blog for more great tutorials like this one. Thanks for hanging out with me on Clued Into Crafting. I'm Lily from Siser North America, and I'll see you next time.